Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Thom Raley. The scenario is Delph-6. It was written by me. It's a one-shot, and this will be the third time that we have run it. But before we begin, we do have a new patron. Brian Bierman has pledged $5 a month to our club. Thank you so much, Brian.
Yay, Brian!
So without any further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. It was early morning, about 6:30 a.m. on June 14th, 1982, when your phones rang. The person on the other end identified herself as Virginia Brown, the Dean of Physical Sciences at Kingsport University in Massachusetts. There had been an accident. One of the department's leading research scientists, Dr. Nikos Volkakos, had been killed during the night, accidentally electrocuted by one of his projects. His name is familiar from a number of prestigious scientific journals. The reason for her call had to do with an immediate salvage of his research. His experiments were still in operation and required tending. Since you were the only scientists remotely capable of understanding his work, she asked you to immediately fly out and see what you could do to save his research and possibly continue his work. There was considerable money wrapped up in it, and the university could not afford to have it all go down the drain just because the lead researcher inconveniently got himself killed. Your expenses would be paid for by the university as long as you needed them, or as long as they needed you. The next morning, you arrived and you met in the dean's office, in her office. There were a few minutes of pleasantries, after which she had you sign a strict non-disclosure agreement. You then left the administration building and you began crossing the campus on an electric golf cart. The campus was quiet except for a few students and faculty, as this was the summer break. Well, while we're going along, gentlemen, I'll answer any questions you might have as best I can. Though I consider myself to be a scientist, it would seem that fate thinks that I would do much better in administration. What can I answer for you before we get there?
So, can you give us a brief rundown of what this guy was working on?
Well, I can tell you what I know. He was working on a kind of an interface. He called it, I believe, the ANSI, the Advanced Neural Computer Interface. He wanted to see if it were possible to have computers and minds work together and interface together. It's cutting edge. It wasn't really in my purview to know what he was doing, but he was working on it. Apparently he was in the middle of an experiment and something went wrong and he got electrocuted.
Geez, it sounds kind of far out. Computers and human minds.
Well, I remember him saying that the advantages of being able to have a mental interface with a computer would be a great advantage. Something about having more easier access to information.
Sure. I'm sure that guy was bogged down in the red tape of ethical policies and things like that. I mean, once you start getting into people as subjects.
Well, I believe he let the administration take care of most of that. And as I said, that you've signed a non-disclosure agreement.
Right.
Now, Dean Brown, did he have anything to show for it? Any breakthroughs? Anything that you personally seen?
Well, he's in the he's has ongoing research. So yes, he's got a few successful experiments, or he had. That's what we need you to sort of check up and make sure everything is working okay. There was a big power surge And for safety reasons, a good portion of the electrical power to the building has been shut down. But certain key things are still working.
Well, thank goodness for that. Has the proper authorities been involved to investigate the death?
No.
I look around at my fellow compatriots.
It's being handled discreetly.
Did he happen to have any assistants working with them?
Well, she laughs. He's had a number of assistants. Professor Volikakos was not an easy man to get along with. Currently, he did not have an assistant. I think that his last assistant left in December sometime. I have all of that information if you find it relative or you need it.
Okay.
So she drives you across the campus, and Kingsport is on the ocean. So you find that you're driving through the campus and down towards the ocean. There is a large building. It's more or less circular with, some out parts sticking out of it. Looks like it's 2 stories high. And there's a big sign in front of it that says computer research. I'm not sure what it would say out in the front of it. She pulls up in front of that and she says, "This is the building." She says classrooms are upstairs, and she takes you in through the door. There are some offices and administration and reception areas in here, but mostly on one end on the back end of the building, there is a large circular pool. There is a raised lip, maybe 4 feet up, and then this big round pool. And you can see that there is access from the pool to the outside to the ocean. So that end of the building has access. This is seawater that's in here right now. She says, "This is our facility. This is the first floor. There are a number of subfloors below this. The lab is on the next floor down." She walks you over towards the wall, and you can see that there is a large freight elevator, and there is a stairwell. And she says, unfortunately, at the moment, the elevator is shut down because of the power, but we can go down the stairs.
So what's going on with this pool?
Well, that's part of the research. It's better that you just see it when we get down there.
Okay.
So she opens up the stairwell. It's standard stairwell. And it goes down a couple of turns. And she opens up the door and she says, "This is the lab." And as you step inside, your first impression is that it's a mess. There are cables and wires everywhere. The room has a number of computer banks. This is 1982. It has a number of computer banks against the wall. It has a few flashing lights. It has desks with large, fat PCs, terminals on the tables. And where the pool is up above, there is a gigantic aquarium. So it's all glass, it's spherical, and there is access all the way around it. But there's a big, gigantic fish tank for all intents and purposes in the center. And on the other end, you can see there are banks of computers that are still flashing a little bit. There are large discs of tape that are not spinning. And that there is another double door, smaller double door, on the other side of the room to the left of the big, gigantic tank. There are also, when you were in the stairwell, you could see that there are lower levels. There were stairs continue down.
Okay.
So she says, this is all of his stuff. You should be able to gain access. I mean, one of you is a computer expert. We just don't want all this to go to waste, obviously. I'm sorry I can't be of too much help. I can help you in administration if you need it. There are wall phones throughout the facility, which you can use to contact me back in administration if you need to.
So, what room did the good doctor hurt himself in?
And she points to the double doors on the other side, and she starts walking in that way. He died over here. This is the medical lab.
Okay. And is he still through those doors?
No. He's been he's currently at the county morgue.
Okay.
So looking around with, I guess, my computer knowledge, what sort of tools and machines has he got here? Can I kind of put together a picture of like what he was doing?
Well, it does seem like he had put together a lot of storage, which back in the 80s would have been large machines. They all seem to be interfaced. You get the impression looking it over, you're not exactly sure what it all does, but you get the impression looking over that when it was originally installed, when the funding went through for it all and it was put in, it was probably better organized. But at this point, it looks like there are crazy cables going all over the place, hooking one machine to another. There is a display screens on the back wall with what looks like a long black bar above it that has, in red letters, it has the time. You think that it's probably hooked into an atomic clock somewhere.
May I ask, all of this technology looks quite expensive. Who was funding this research?
That would be my group. We were funding the research that Dr. Volkakis was doing here.
I see. And what was your group's interest in what this man was doing?
That isn't relevant to this conversation. We are investors that are interested in pursuing scientific innovation.
All right. I'm just here to be a subject matter expert. I won't pry.
Well, you have reason to, Henry, if I may call you Henry. I'm familiar with your work and I appreciate it. However, I do respect the idea of privacy here. So, Ms. Hutchins.
Well, I really don't know how any of this works. So I'm going to go back to my administration office. If you need to call me, it's 001 on the phone. And you can call me. I can get that information for you if you want about former employees. Though I don't suspect there's any kind of sabotage. They didn't like working with him, but they didn't, there wouldn't be anything worse than that. They left.
Sure. So what exactly what are some of your priorities? What are you hoping that if we can accomplish one or two things, what are you looking for us to be able to do? Well,
Dr. Volkakis was a secretive sort of man. So a lot of this, we would like you to go through this and see what you can make of it all. Because quite frankly, we don't have the expertise to figure it all out. That's why we called you in, because you guys were the experts.
So you'd like us to sort of parse out what exactly he was doing and how, with the intention of maybe finding somebody who can pick up where he left off?
Pick up where he could left off, yes. Salvage whatever this is. Keep whatever's going on going.
And there's no right hand or left hand individual that we could speak to at the moment that could catch us up to speed. So we're doing this from what we can find. Is that correct?
Well, I suppose if you got a hold of some of the old lab assistants, they might be able to give you a little bit. But I mean, the doctor did keep extensive notes, though they're all over the place, it would look like.
Mhm.
Wow. I flash an eyebrow at Henry.
You know, cycling through so many different assistants is a good way that to make sure that no one person knew what he was really doing.
Or he was just super abrasive.
He was quite abrasive.
Probably the most likely answer.
He was a perfectionist, and as I recall, one fellow who left maybe 2 years ago was his main complaint was that he was extremely harsh. He got tired of getting yelled at constantly.
Hmm. So I'm not seeing anything down here that explains why he's got an ocean pool upstairs.
Oh, well, and she points at the glass, and it's then that you notice there is something swimming around in there. It's a fairly large tank, but there's, that kind of murkiness to the water.
Mhm.
She says, Delph-6.
I'll move closer to the glass to just
Okay.
kind of get a better view.
And as you guys are moving closer to the glass and getting a look around, she dismisses herself and goes back up the stairs. You know where you can reach her.
Yeah.
I know that Norman has been interested in that aquarium since he saw it, so he's definitely going to go up and take a look and see what he can see in the brackish waters.
So as you get up there, you definitely see something moving around, and suddenly out of the murkiness, there comes a large bottlenose dolphin. You are who's the marine biologist? Yeah,
I
you
am.
are, Norman. You are pretty sure, you're probably beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it is Tursiops truncatus, a bottlenose dolphin. But do a spot hidden for me.
Sure. That's a 15.
There seems to be something attached to the dolphin. Right here on its forehead, there is a kind of a white plate that is, stitched or fused onto its cranium. It says Delph-6 written on it in small letters, and there are 3 little lights that are blinking, yellow, red, and green. The dolphin swims, he sees you, and he's swimming back and forth.
Interesting. I turn over to my electrical specialist, Dr. Maxwell. Doctor, any idea that they had a biocompatible technology here? And I kind of point to the lights built into the dolphin's head.
That is most curious. I haven't seen anything like that, only in theorems or pipe dreams. I want to take a closer look at the apparatus on this dolphin's head.
Well, it's very smooth. It looks like it's been designed to be aerodynamic, aquadynamic,
Right.
so that it doesn't hinder its thing.
But it's like implanted into it, or it's
it seems to actually be implanted into its skin, and you can see through the murkiness there's a little bit of red irritation around where it's attached. But the dolphin doesn't seem to be in distress or any pain or anything like that.
Perhaps this machine is sending out signals to the nearby computers.
To what
It would-
purpose?
Perhaps to monitor the brain activity.
Do a spot hidden, Dr. McCoy.
You got it. I got a 10 out of 25. So that's
There
hard.
are an awful lot of large monitors that are blank at the moment because there's no power to them.
These weren't human minds they were talking about.
We
No,
don't
I
look through
suppose
his
not.
notes. He said he had notes all over the place.
Yeah, there's papers everywhere.
I'm gonna start looking through them.
Yeah, can I take some time to kind of gather notes up and kind of parse them into some kind of order?
Okay. Yeah. Then you realize it's going to take a while. You're guessing that Professor Volokakos is probably not an organized man. That's probably why he needed an assistant. But he
And
hasn't had an
6
assistant
months,
for a
no
while.
assistant. Yeah.
Right. But you see that they're filled with formula and mathematics and things like that. But it'll take you a while to sift through them.
Has he got like a computer terminal or a word processor or something where he might have saved?
Yes, there are computer terminals. There are 3 or 4 of them in here. They're all blank.
I'll start going to those. So even if
there's no power.
That's right.
Now, Henry, before we act rash, let's find out the source of what killed the doctor before we just go willy-nilly and turning on power.
While I agree with you, Doctor, I think it might be more on your shoulders to restore that power so we can find that information, unfortunately.
Right. I'm just telling him to wait.
Oh,
Maxwell, do you think with the power off, I mean, it's not really my wheelhouse, but do you think we'll even be able to find? Will it be obvious what could have?
Assuming there was an electrical discharge, you could see the burn, the place where he expired. So I'm going to be looking in that medical lab now.
Okay.
You're welcome to come along.
Yeah, I could probably help in some capacity.
Right. So the 2 of you are heading in that direction. What are the rest of you doing? Oh, you're going through the notes and stuff.
I think I'll go with Henry and the doctor if possible.
Okay. So you walk over to the medical bay door and it's a swing, so it opens up. The first thing you notice is that there are a number of large metallic carts, large enough that you could actually put a full-grown dolphin onto the bed. But in the center of the room, there is a smaller, more solid tank. It's maybe 4 feet wide, maybe 10 feet long, and only maybe 3 feet off the ground. It's white. It's not see-through. So it almost has a look of a bathtub. There is something in it, and as you approach, you can see that it is another dolphin. This dolphin is obviously dead. There is the slight smell of, fishy decay in the room. You can see burn marks going along the floor and up the side of the tank and onto the dolphin. You can see burns on the dolphin. You can see that it also must have had one of these things on its forehead because it's now laying on a table next to the dolphin. And you can see the exposed brain of the dolphin inside with all sorts of little metal, medical instruments that have been attached to it and stuff like that. It seems obvious that something happened here. And this is probably where the doctor died. Electricity and water don't mix very well. And you don't know whether the dolphin was dead or if the dolphin was killed by the electrical discharge.
Is there any way that I could determine that, Thom?
Yeah, you can do some medical or you can do biology.
Okay, I'd like to take a look at it, kneel down by the tank.
Okay. There is also a large door on the other end of the room that looks like a big freezer, and a smaller door next to that one. So you can see those. There's all sorts of medical equipment and stuff in here as well. How'd you do, Norman?
I got a 16.
Okay. Yeah, there's extensive damage, and it looks like burn damage to the fish itself. And I'm sorry, it's not a fish. To the dolphin and to to the brain cavity and the thing itself. So something electrocuted both it and the doctor. This is also a bottlenose dolphin.
I look back to Dr. Maxwell.
I'm averting my eyes from this gruesome scene.
Doctor, if I could just steal your attention for one moment, I'm a little baffled here.
All right, what's so baffling?
I
What's your hypothesis?
I trace my finger along the burn marks. I can't think of anything that would cause this kind of energy transfer, and I trace it all the way up, and it looks like these burns go to the porpoise. Any idea of what could produce that kind of energy?
Perhaps it's the machinery, and I'm looking around, trying to detect any burn marks on this technology.
It does look like there are a number of cables that could have been, I don't know, hooked into the dolphin's brain or whatever that lead to things that lead to other things that have all this cabling coming out of them. And they do look burned and melted a little bit. Right.
So perhaps there was an electrical discharge to this conductor. Fail safes weren't met, or perhaps weren't even set up at all. This guy might have been just a quack.
In touch with water when the water was electrocuted, possibly.
Yes. Well, good thing we're not dumb enough to do that. So I think we'll be okay.
So there's some of these wires. Is there any exposed wire coming from a power source that would have been making contact with the water?
Well, you can guess. There's evidence. Obviously, somebody came in and took the bodies, or the body, and things have been. The power was turned off. Things were moved out of the way in order to do that. So, yeah, there's any number of things and attachments and things that might have caused it. Although you'd have to literally analyze it, figure out what it does, and see where it could have. Why it happened.
Mm-hmm.
That'll take time.
Electrocution is quite gruesome because if you touch a wire, that current is going to travel through your body to the ground. So it goes through your entire body, through your legs. It's horrible.
Not a good way to go.
Nope.
Dr. Vance, any luck discerning a direction for this research?
There is. Whatever this is, it's extremely advanced. A lot of it has to do with, stuff on it. It's got theoretical quantum physics. It's got the Einstein, Podolsky, Rosen channels. It talks about the Lorentzian manifold. A lot of really high advanced, some things that don't seem that you wouldn't normally think that they would work somehow together. But there are also a good many odd notations when a mathematician or a physicist runs out of symbols to use that he knows what they mean. Sometimes he makes up new symbols in order to do this. And there's a lot of that in here. It almost gives you a funny alchemical sort of feeling, some of the symbols that he's used, but it's not that unusual.
Yeah, I'm looking through all of these formulas, and there's things in here that I wouldn't even see at Fermilab. It's very strange. It would take some time to track down what these symbols mean and determine where they plug into all these. But from what I can guess is he's deviating from any kind of marine biology or computing or even electronics, and he's getting into the quantum realm. Instead of going out, he's going in. It's insane.
Do a physics roll.
A 34. That is a success.
Okay. You think that a great amount of this stuff has to do with perhaps he is trying to move information from the computer directly into the brain, but not like through wires or tubes, or perhaps through some form of radio or something like that, but doing it in such a way that it's actually affecting the quantum states. It seems like he's trying to almost, teleport the information out of one computer mind into a fleshy mind in some way. It's crazy. It's weird crazy. I mean, yes, this is like crackpot crazy, but at the same time, it's all sort of holding up as you're working through the math.
But I mean, that's nuts. I mean, the way that we know to encode information in computer systems, that's not the way that organic minds work. We don't, the human animal mind doesn't process binary information. And how's he going to get over that hurdle?
Right? And computers, they can only store so much data. The human brain can store about maybe 2.5 million gigabytes of data. How does that even compare?
But yet we have someone dealing with biochemistry mixed with electronics and computers and next level technology. It is very strange.
Yeah, it seems like he's really leaning on the computers to parse out the information into almost like a binary electrical signal to then be replicated in the parts in the brain that would become more interesting information on that end. It's very strange.
Are you talking about programming brains?
In some regard, it's hard to think of things outside of radio frequencies that we've experimented with, but it's almost as if the information is going in one way and just appearing in another way, like they may be entangled somehow. I don't think we're even talking about that kind of thing where I work.
Maybe we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, let's dig deeper.
I suppose it's time to turn on the power.
I mean, we don't know if whatever caused this is still a threat.
Okay. Well, I suggest we wear the proper PPE, EH-rated boots, gloves.
Henry, are you implying that restoring the power might also restore a threat?
Well, I mean that if there's some sort of a live wire or something making contact with something that we may be liable to touch, I don't want to touch something and get zapped.
I had assumed you and Dr. McCoy had analyzed this situation and determined that wasn't a risk.
Yeah, I guess it just makes me feel uneasy because we didn't really find anything.
Well, you actually haven't really looked too deeply. There are panels and things that you have to open them up and look through and see what's in there. And
are there like multimeters and things down here that we can use? Like there's two prongs and you can tell you if a circuit would be completed in there. Like
any kind of equipment that they would have needed, that would be down here too.
Max, let's go through here and maybe test some of these things and see if we're getting any closed circuits or open circuits.
Yeah, you get the left side, I get the right.
Okay.
While they're doing that, can I look at the symbols in his notes and start looking around the lab to see if there's any other indication as to what these symbols might be referencing?
Sure. as you are walking about the lab, one thing you notice is that a good many of these stray cables that are going all over the place, they start to congeal on one end of the room near the tank, and they end up in a bundle of cabling, maybe this big around, going into the ground. All of it just suddenly plunges down into the ground. And so there's probably more stuff below, which Dr. Max or Dr. McCoy and Henry probably notices too, that there's probably a lot more to this place. When you look at the tank, you can see that it's quite a bit deeper than this level alone. You don't see the bottom of the tank, for instance. The dolphin seems very interested. He's watching everything that you guys are doing, with that sort of little dolphin smile on his face, the way dolphins do.
I'll be taking pictures of the notes and the dolphin tank and the setup, and just kind of the general look of this lab.
As soon as you start taking pictures, the dolphin becomes very interested in you, because you've got a flashing
Of course.
light that bulb.
Dr. Vance, Mr. Easley, I would like to know, in your professional opinions, was Dr. Volokakos working on something is this a fool's errand, I guess is my question. Was this junk science, or do you think his effort really could have produced something of note?
Doctor?
Well, it appears he's cracked something. And I'm pointing at Delph-6. He's a meshed machine and at least marine life. So there's something of note there. I'm not sure until we get things plugged in, if that produced anything. This could just be, show lights for all we know, something to show investors such as yourself to say, look, we've done it, smoke and mirrors, I would say.
Yes. I guess the question would be, is this project worth continuing to fund?
Well, Doctor, if I may, if what you say is true, Doctor, and even if it is the dog and pony show that we see, that's a rather impressive dog and pony show.
If what he is researching is true, this is science that I would need to get in on, because we're not doing this kind of thing at Fermilab. We're like you said earlier, we're barely scratching the surface. This might take my lifetime to understand, and unfortunately the man who could teach us is gone.
Norman looks at Gwen. It's real.
And so, have you ever seen anything like this? And I'm gesturing to the dolphin in this biological meets technology. Have you ever seen anything like this?
In Asimov's stories, maybe.
I'm thinking of all the experiments that have been maybe done on mice, or maybe using turtles to blow up mines in the waters in World War II. But those were all rudimentary applications of what this man has done here. If this is panning out like I see in these notes, then this is groundbreaking. I'm jealous, I would say.
Dr.
Well,
Vance,
this project is going to need a new head with the untimely death of Dr. Volokakos.
And you see her kind of grip the notes a little tighter to her chest, kind of thinking that over in her mind.
I'd have to think, Ms. Hutchins, with all due respect, what we discover here will determine whether or not this proceeds further, and the authorities need to be involved, because unfortunately, while this is impressive, it's rather barbaric in ecological standpoint.
So Henry and Dr. McCoy, do your electrical or your computer engineering rolls.
I got a success.
Okay, I'm going to spend 4 points of luck to
Okay.
make it a success.
The two of you are you're working your way around the room. You're following leads of things that might blow out or whatever. But Dr. McCoy, you can see there are a few systems that have obviously shorted. They could be fairly easily repaired, you're thinking. There are some electronics that seem to have possibly burned out, but you think those could be repaired too. You could flip the switch off and on really quick and see if anything sparks, but you don't think that it will. You don't think there's anything directly grounded.
So we found a few failures in some of these systems, but I'm curious about why. Can we sort of put our minds together and sort of troubleshoot these things and figure out why these things happened? What sort of input was done here, or what caused this?
Well, you're not exactly sure how much power is being drawn here, but you're pretty sure there's lower levels where there might be more equipment.
Well, this isn't just the only electronics. There's probably a sub level, and I can see there's damage to some of this equipment. Maybe they let out the magic smoke from some of the capacitors, and those are easy enough to replace and repair. We should go deeper.
Yeah, I'd like to look around a little bit more before we turn on the power, because if restoring the power is going to further damage some of these instruments, I'd hate to lose more information.
I'll
Right.
take your recommendation.
right.
So yeah, we'll let everyone know that we're probably moving down to the lower level.
Okay. You open up the stairwell and you go down the stairs. The sound of the metal stairs sort of echoes as you go down. You open up the lower level. You can see that the tank extends down this far. It's still going pretty much from ceiling to floor. This place is crammed with stuff, panels and wiring and all of that. But you can also see that there is, you can now see the bottom of the tank. So looking through, you can see the bottom of the tank. It's maybe 5 feet lower than where you're actually standing, but there is also a lift up panel in the floor, indicating that there might be even more stuff farther down.
Jesus Christ.
Most of this stuff does not look like it's damaged. The inside of the tank is interesting. There seems to be something in the center of the bottom of the tank. Best you could describe it is something like a large metallic box with some rods that are sticking up out of the top of it into the water. It almost gives you the impression of like an antenna, though not as delicate as an antenna.
That looks like a radio transmitter.
Well, maybe an odd one though, because there's not like a dish.
Norman is clearly interested with the box. Doctor, any idea what that is? Ms. Hutchins, do you know if you'd contracted anyone to install electronics in this aquarium?
Not to
doesn't.
my knowledge, no.
Well, that probably takes the signal of the Delph-6, and it either transmits or receives whatever information this doctor
as engineered.
Right.
Gwen, did you come down there with them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Taking pictures.
It does look like none of the electronics in this area were damaged, so
Gwen, you take some pictures. Dr. Easley and Dr. McCoy, and I assume Henry, you're down there too.
Mm.
Yeah, do a spot hidden.
Everyone?
No, you're taking pictures, Gwen, so you don't need to.
I do not see.
well,
I got a solid 50.
Oh, okay.
And
So- So Henry and Max don't see it, but what you see, when there's a flash of light, there are a number of pieces of equipment that have serial numbers on them. And from your experience working with, the Navy and other, ocean-going
Mhm.
things,
Mhm.
they look like military serial numbers.
Interesting. Ms. Hutchins, do you mind if I ask if there were any military grade contractors or military contractors themselves involved in the install with the electronics here? Doctor, if you don't mind, and I wave Maxwell over.
Truthfully, I'm just a representative of the investors. So no, I don't know the answer to that question, Mr. Easley. I apologize.
just writes the checks here.
I'll show Dr. McCoy the serial numbers, and I kind of tell him a little bit in secrecy that these are in my experience, military contractor installed or military installed.
Well, that
pieces of
explains the
technology.
NDAs.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if Dr. McCoy is looking at them. Yeah, you've seen this kind of equipment before.
Do I know if it's easy to access without having an in with like having a government contract?
It's still stuff that you can work with.
Okay.
It's just top grade. It's
Yeah, this is serious stuff.
this is serious stuff if the military was supplying it.
So is he looking for military application? Was he trying to weaponize dolphins?
Well, I'd have to think that you and I both know, Doctor, that the cutting edge of technology is always applied in the military budget. And
Right.
if anybody was interested, they could probably get their hands on it. To your question, was the military actually behind it?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Dr. McCoy, the more you're looking at this equipment, and Henry, as you're looking at it, you're thinking that your hypothesis is correct. This is some kind of a transmitter, maybe transmitter receiver. Maybe it has to do something with that thing on the dolphin's head. Maybe water is not a very good medium to transmit certain, like radar.
Mhm. So do we, in any of the notes that we've been looking through, or have we found anything that would tell us what sort of information is being transmitted or in what format?
Well, this you can hazard a guess. You do an intelligence roll. I think you're all super intelligent.
Well, I rolled a 100.
You're kind of stymied, yeah. But this has definitely got enough power coming into it. You'd think that it would have easily enough power to talk to people on the moon if it was on the surface and not underwater. But I say that because it sounds cool, but that's not really a big deal. You can actually contact the moon with a fairly small radio transmitter on Earth.
I'd like to try and share that responsibility, though, if I can. I can see Henry's perplexed. Henry, you look troubled. What's on your mind?
I don't know. I was thinking down one train of thought, but I've kind of disproven myself and I don't know where to begin. I don't know. I mean, what I'm sticking on in my mind is, how do you get something biological to decode information that our limited technological capacities can create? We don't even fully understand the human mind, let alone dolphin minds. I mean, half the time we can't even get computers to work. I just don't. I'm just totally confused.
I think it's why Dr. Vansk is here. I believe that they probably saw that bridge between technology, science, and the next level. Anything you found, Dr. Vansk, in the notes?
He's still upstairs.
Yeah, I'm still upstairs.
Okay. All right. It's just the three of us down here, or four rather. Yep.
I will ask Thom, in the notes, is there any kind of information on training? Like, has he been working to train these dolphins to do anything specific, or maybe to interpret signals or anything like that?
You don't find, you find what seems to be a long list of code numbers that seem to correspond to files within the computer. And some of them have been checked off. The only accompanying note is transference complete. It also occurs to you that this is Delph-6. Delph-5 is in the
lab.
This is obviously there may have been failures, that he's on Delph-6 now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that once we buttoned up those failed circuits that were, getting fried, once we fixed those up, yeah, I think if we turned the power on and we could actually interact with some of these terminals and implements.
Great. I'll make the repairs and we can turn the power on.
Okay.
As you might expect, up in that lab, is a place on the wall where there's a big, power on terminals.
Little breaker board. Yep.
Yeah, a big breaker board. Frankenstein's lab breaker.
Right. It's alive.
All right, so you guys are going to go back up?
Yep.
All the while, the dolphin's been watching you. He's especially been watching Tatiana as she's been sitting there reading. You almost get the impression that he's reading too.
Actually, Thom, as they head up, just the last thing I'm going to do down here, you said there was sort of like a hatch.
Yes, there is a hatch.
Yeah, we're all going to be sort of filing up, but I'm just going to take a quick peek before we go up because I forgot to do that.
You open up the hatch, and there is basically a crawl space, maybe 4 feet high, that seems to go more or less underneath the tank. It's where they attached all of the equipment and everything. So it's just a jumble of cables and everything else that's down under there. It doesn't look weird or sinister. It just looks
Technical.
Sure. It looks like the kind of place that if you had claustrophobia, you're going to have difficulty getting in there.
That's not me.
So just with a pen light, just real quick, I'll give it a once over. Do all the connections look good?
Yep, everything looks good. You don't see any damage to the circuitry or to the cables. You see a lot more of those military serial numbers on things.
Okay. Would I even know if there's a reference material that I could compare those serial numbers against and see exactly what these things are? Like maybe a catalog or...
I'm sure there is, but it's probably not something that you have readily available. I don't think we have internet in 1982.
Given the status of this individual's office, I'd say he might.
Unintentionally.
Unintentional.
All right, so you're going to go back upstairs. And after giving another thorough look around, Dr. McCoy, what are you going to do?
Oh, I'm gonna flip on the power.
Okay. You flip on the power, and there is a kind of a loud, click bang as the power comes back on. The fluorescent lights up above suddenly illuminate. Computer screens throughout the room, they flash on and they begin to warm up. The back wall that has the large screens on it, those all light up, and they seem to be, they look almost like medical information, temperature, heartbeat, and so forth. And your best guess, Norman, would be is that they are of the dolphin. It's monitoring its bodily functions.
Okay.
The atomic clock is on. There are another screens here and there showing other data. Everything comes to life.
Well done, Doctor.
I will give a theatrical bow.
Do a luck roll, Dr. McCoy.
Oh boy.
My favorite.
I rolled a
Especially-
100.
Oh,
Get it out now.
All right.
lucky.
Unlucky.
So you are
Jesus.
standing there giving your bow,
How perfect was that?
and suddenly you can smell, like ozone in the air, like
Oh,
there is
no.
a short somewhere.
The smell of burning
And
metal.
you start to notice, like one of the panels near the tank, some smoke is starting to waft out. Not a lot, but a little bit. It's wafting out of that. You think you can cut that circuit off?
I'll
if you
turn
go
off
over
the
to it.
power then.
You gonna turn off all the power?
Yes.
Okay. Clunk. Everything goes down.
Sorry about that. Noticed an issue there.
Oh,
I'm climbing out of the bottom floor and what is that?
Our quality control wasn't quite finished with this job.
All right. Well, let's take a look.
All right.
Pull out your tools and you get on your back and climb under there, and you indeed find where there is a short, but fairly easily fixed. Do an electrical engineering for me again.
I passed.
Don't roll another 100.
Don't roll.
All right. So you think that you can fix that in a matter of 2 minutes or so.
Right.
Here, just hold these two wires together while I turn the power back.
Little bubble gum and spit.
MacGyver. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Now it's ready.
The power comes back on, and as before, everything comes back on, and you don't get smoke from the. I should make you roll luck again and see. No.
Yeah. I'm not bowing this time. That was tough.
Does Delph-6 respond to the power coming on at all?
Yeah, he looks like he sees that something's happened, and he's swimming around. He comes up to the glass, and he's swimming there, watching what you were doing. I would like you all to do spot hiddens.
I don't think so. Nope.
Ooh.
Fail.
I got a 77.
Yes.
Yeah, I failed.
I succeeded.
Oh, you succeeded. Okay. Dr. Tatiana, you notice, like more or less in the center of the room, amidst all the other stuff, one of the terminals, there seems to be something suddenly written on it.
I'll go over to it and I'll kind of wave Hubbard over with the notes that had the reference to like the files.
Yeah, you look at the screen and it says, where is Dr. Volikakos?
I'm just
The
white
little
with
white
shock.
letters.
I'm just white with shock, and I'll turn towards the dolphin. Kind of like, is this really?
We just turned these things on. Somebody would have had to input that. That wouldn't have
What are
been.
you talking about? What is it that you're seeing?
There's a writing on this computer terminal here, but we just turned it on. We haven't selected anything or navigated through the interface. This shouldn't have popped up like this. I mean, if you had been typing something and turned the power off, you would have lost it. This should be a blank screen.
What
Is
if
there
it's
kind of? Go ahead.
no, please go ahead.
I was just going to say, is there kind of like an interface to type something back?
There's a keyboard.
Could it just be a password prompt that, instead of just asking for the password, Doctor thought he'd be a little funny?
Maybe. Dr. Vance, go ahead. Give it a try.
Who is this?
Delph-6.
My
Where
jaw
is
drops.
Where is Dr. Volokakos?
This isn't funny. Really, who is this?
Delph-6. Where is Dr. Volokakos?
It's broken. Look, it's just repeating the same thing over and over again. Obviously, he did something to this computer.
Try
All right.
saying something else.
Yeah, I'm going to respond. He had an accident. He's dead.
The dolphin in the tank suddenly reacts. I guess you'd say in surprise. It swims away from the tank for a few moments and swims around in a circle and comes back. And it says, "I understand."
This isn't real.
Dolphins have names. Ask it what it knows. Henry, please. Suspend your disbelief.
What do you want to know?
Norman, is this normal dolphin behavior? What?
I can't speak to the natural behavior of dolphins, but we all know that they are intelligent beyond what we can comprehend. And I would say follow the slightest breadcrumb if we have what we think is an intelligent individual talking to us through a computer. Let's prove it wrong. Please, Dr. Henry, ask.
All right, what is the doctor trying to achieve?
Communication.
Well, then he succeeded.
I'll flip through the notes really quick and pick out like a formula that I would be able to type that I would know the answer to, and I'll type it in to like see how smart we're dealing with.
Like the circumference of a circle? Or
Sure. Yes. Yeah. That'd be good.
It responds the circumference of a circle.
Oh my God.
The notes fall out of my arms.
Are there more of you?
Where is Delph-5? It responds.
Don't tell it. Don't tell it. We don't know how this thing can react.
I think we stand a
Gone as well. It say electrical accident.
I understand. Who are you?
It's the real question.
I'll respond with my name and a brief explanation. I'm a computer engineer trying to figure out the cause of these accidents.
It responds by saying, repair circuit 9B695.
I look at Dr. Maxwell McCoy.
I'm writing that down.
What?
What
You're
is
telling
its
me a
function?
dolphin knows better than me?
I'm going to ask Delph-6, what is the function of this circuit?
Communication.
Communication with who, Henry?
A different method of communication?
Communication responds.
All right, don't test it.
Where is Delph? Oh, you already told him where Delph-5 was. Who were the white men? It says.
I don't understand.
Dr. I keep forgetting his name. Dr. Volokakos took Delph's 5 into the medical bay and did not come out.
That's
White,
right.
and then it says white men in white came and went from the room, but Dr. Volikakos, Dr. Volikakos was not with them.
That is where the accident happened. They may have been doctors.
But I touch Henry's shoulder. But Henry, he's telling you that they never pulled a body out of the room.
But I mean, maybe he came out on a stretcher in a bag and he didn't understand that.
There was a black bag.
Okay.
I'll explain. I don't know those men. I think they might have been doctors or or emergency medical technicians.
Repair circuit 9B695.
I am going to walk over and check that out.
I'll go with you.
Do a
695.
spot hidden.
I failed.
I failed also.
Okay. Yeah, you're having trouble finding it. There are things labeled, but once again, there's kind of a bit of chaos.
I'm gonna ask.
Go ahead.
I'm going to ask Delph-6 to stand by, and I want to go take a look at this circuit too because I'm curious what it's trying to do.
Why don't you do a spot hidden to see if you can find it, since they couldn't find it.
No, I have a really low spot hidden.
Okay. The dolphin looks a bit frustrated, and it says hungry.
Can I tell this body language from the dolphin?
Yeah, I mean,
okay. Pretty obvious.
It seems very concerned.
Sure.
Norman, what do dolphins eat?
Generally mackerel, small fish, anything, they're predators. Anything big enough to fit in their mouth and chew up that's meat.
I don't know if I didn't see any food storage or anything like that.
I didn't either. Maybe we give a call to an assistant really quickly. Something.
If it was somewhere, it would be up where the pool is.
Further high.
Okay. Maybe
I'll
work on this circuit.
I'll go up and take a look to see if I can find some food.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I was going to say in that med lab, you mentioned like a cold storage. Might there be something in there?
Do you want to go and check?
Yeah, I'll go check.
I'll just let Delph-6 know we're looking for your food.
I'll keep looking for the circuit.
All right. Dr. Vanskes, you go over to the, it seems like a large freezer. You open it up, and there are 4 more dolphins inside the room. They don't seem to be the same as Delph-5 and Delph-6, other species maybe. They've all had their brain cavity excavated. There are samples in jars, and there is some more primitive versions of the plate that are on their head. But you don't see any food or anything in here, just medical specimens.
Yeah, she's a little kind of shocked by that. She's going to close it pretty quickly and walk back and say, "There's no food in there."
Before you completely leave, you also notice that the other door, the smaller door there, is what looks like a crematorium.
So like where you put the body in
and get rid of it. Yeah.
Okay.
It looks like a fairly good one too. I mean, a fairly modern one. Doesn't look like it's been used, but then how do you know? Maybe it has been.
Hey, Thom?
Yes, sir.
Can Delph-6 leave this chamber? Like, does Delph-6 have the ability to just go out into the sea?
He does if the gate is open, but the gate is not open. So who's going upstairs?
I think it was just Norma.
Norma?
Yeah, I was going to go see if I could find some food.
I'm not helpful with circuit stuff, so I'll go and look see if I can find
You go up the stairs, and it takes you almost no time at all. You find a place where there is a fairly large store of mackerel.
Okay.
For exactly this purpose. Obviously, he has to be fed.
Okay.
It's just that since the accident, he hasn't been fed in a bit.
How long
So
ago was that?
a couple of well, he died yesterday, so
Yesterday. Okay.
or maybe the day before, but whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, 24 to 48.
So you all notice downstairs that Delph immediately leaves where you are, and he goes swimming up above. Dr. Easley, he comes up to the surface, and at this point, of course, he's making all of the normal dolphin sounds and everything else. He comes forward, allows you to feed him mackerel.
All right.
He seems like a fairly happy dolphin. Because he's actually coming up out of the water, you can now see more clearly this thing, how it's attached. It seems to have been attached pretty well. It's almost as if the skin itself has grown over the edge just a little bit. The little lights blink on it at different speeds. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's fast. It goes quite fast when you're tossing the fish into his mouth, and
I give Delph a little rub on the forehead with the flat of my thumb. I said, "They didn't hurt you too bad, did they, old girl?"
He likes the affection.
Did we find any biological diagrams to kind of detail how he had done this? Any surgical notes, anything like that?
It all seems to be in his notes, which are very extensive and complex,
Okay.
but they're all
It did seem like there was
he actually had to design some of the interfaces and all of that. So it would take a while, but it's knowledge. It could be
replicatable.
figured out. Yeah. All right. So those of you who are down below, you're still looking for the circuit. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead
Yep.
and I'll have you do another spot hidden for me. Yeah. Those of you who are looking around.
Failed.
Norman's upstairs.
Can I maybe? So we haven't even seen the circuit.
Right. You're not sure where it is. It's a big room.
I'm going to ask Delph-6 if
Okay.
he knows where it is.
All right. So go ahead. Ask.
Yeah. I cannot find this circuit.
He says eating.
I'll wait.
Norman, where'd Norman go? Oh. Delph-6 suddenly, maybe in annoyance, leaves the mackerel and comes swimming back down and comes up to the window, and he's looking at you, and he keeps sort of doing this rhythmic sort of thing, pointing towards a particular panel. And as you approach it, he seems to acknowledge that's the spot, and then he goes back up to where Norman is and continues getting some food.
Jesus Christ, meet our new overlord, Henry.
Yeah, I'm going to thank him. Thank you.
Okay. You can all do spot hiddens down there again. As you're looking at the bed, you know which panel it is. You get into it.
Fail.
No? How about you, Gwen?
Two of us are very myopic. We're
Oh, I'm upstairs with Norman.
Oh, you are. How about
Yeah.
you, Dr. Vansk?
I succeeded.
Okay. Well, you notice that there are, once again, there's lots of cables coming out of it, but sort of following them along, you now notice that throughout the room, there are microphones in the corners of the room. And they're all going to this box.
So it seems like he was maybe trying to start speaking directly versus typing.
speaking.
Oh boy. What a day.
So do I notice these microphones now?
Yeah, now that he
With
points
my
out, there's
electronic
speakers
skill,
as well.
There's
this is what it
speakers.
does, right?
Oh, hey,
Yeah,
Max.
you're pretty sure that's what the circuit
Okay.
does.
Hey, Max.
Yeah.
What kind of voice do you think this doctor gave the dolphin?
I think it's probably the standard computer voice.
What if it's like Eddie Van Halen or something?
Only want to bet money on it?
I don't know. I got $5.
$5 it is. I'll look at the circuit and try and repair it.
In the time that it takes you to repair the circuit, Norman, you finished feeding him and he
All right.
swims back down and you join them. You
Okay.
complete the circuit and there is for a moment a crackling sort of noise and a voice that sounds very much like a computer voice back then says, Delph-6, well done.
Well,
Great. I'm glad it all worked out.
Delph-6 says, I am hoping that we can continue the doctor's experiments even without him. Some of them are very critical in timing.
What was he working on besides this project?
And he gives you a little lecture about transfers of information from computers to minds, and how it may relate to the transference of matter and energy from one place to another. And very quickly, it starts to sound very theoretical, and you're like, okay.
hold on a minute.
Stop. I don't need the whole explanation.
If this doctor couldn't make other people understand what he was doing, no offense, how could he make you understand this?
I didn't really have any say-so in the matter.
Because it wasn't taught, it was forced information.
And
The information that I've received is not complete. I would like to fix those circuits as well so that I can continue absorbing the information.
We should call everyone down now that Delph-6 is talking. So I'll get
Yeah.
Gwen in, Norman. You're
Could
gonna wanna hear
somebody
this.
could somebody speak and listen on any level?
Yes, I have access to all levels.
And you want to continue the research? You have curiosity for this?
It's difficult, certain concepts to explain. I'm searching for terminology. Volunteer. I believe in what the doctor was doing.
Delph-6, would you say that you were given a purpose and that is what you seek to complete that purpose?
Purpose, yes.
A porpoise with a purpose.
Purpose with I'm a dolphin.
Do you remember how things were before this experiment?
You get the impression that it's thinking. Difficult to find terminology necessary to explain. The opportunity was ours.
I look at Henry. Sounds like the doctor's words.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I feel like my mind is short-circuiting now.
Well, maybe we should be more specific. Delph-6, do you know of anyone that was particularly after the doctor?
Explain.
Well, the doctor came to an untimely end. If none of us here know what that untimely end was, it would behoove us to know if there were any interested parties in making sure that the doctor didn't continue.
Based on the evidence of observation, the doctor's death was an accident.
I agree.
Can you tell us what? Can you tell us what the doctor was doing with Delph-5?
Improving. Delph-5 was a previous iteration of the experiment. He was seeking to enhance the communication abilities to match mine.
He thought you were compatible to move up to the next level, or Delph-5 rather was compatible to move up to the next level.
Yes. Delph-7 was not necessary.
What comes next?
Transference, success,
What is transference? What is he talking about?
information, transference. I have no hands, but I must point.
Use your nose. Use your nose, Delph-6.
Well, he's sort of moving in front of the thing, so he's really kind of pointing at all of you there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to teach this dolphin the simple concept of the game of hot and cold. If I walk closer to what you are referring to, tell me if I'm getting warmer. If I'm going farther away, tell me if I'm getting colder. Do you
Understood.
Now we're going to play the game.
All right, so you start walking around. And he's giving you a hotter, colder. I like this game. When you start to approach the panels against the back wall, you're standing in front of one of the panels with the heart rate and so forth. Above that is the atomic clock, and next to it is a screen that you don't quite understand. It seems to be a simple white screen with a bunch of little tiny black dots all over it that seem to be arranged they don't seem to be any particular arrangement. Some of them are a little darker than the others. And when you look kind of close, some of the larger ones have tiny little numbers written next to them. But you don't know what it is. That's when he says you're hot.
What is this?
Coordinates.
Okay, is there some sort of a coordinates? Can I make some sort of a check to see if I can, now that I've been prompted that these are coordinates, to make sense of them in a way that I would understand what coordinates are?
Well, I'm not sure. Let's see. You'd have to have knowledge of navigation.
Do these dots look like the outline of a country or a state
No.
that I would recognize?
It's just sort of an array of dots across the screen. I suppose you've all got basic science. So if you've got any kind of science at all, you can do an intelligence roll.
Okay.
I succeeded.
100.
Oh, wait.
Ozone again.
Ooh, Gwen with the win.
All right. So those of you who passed, it suddenly dawns on you that it's like a reversed image, that what you would normally expect would be a black screen with little white dots. It looks like the stars in the sky.
Oh,
You also notice that there are physical coordinates written in the top of the screen, and they are written out. Right ascension, 4 hours, 35 minutes, 55 seconds. Declination, 16 degrees, 30 minutes, 35 seconds.
Okay, so declination, that can put us somewhere at a point of reference. So different places on the planet, you'll have a different magnetic declination. It's the difference between magnetic north and true north. So we just need to see what longitude puts us at that declination. That would be somewhere on the west coast.
Actually, you realize that these coordinates are not, they don't correspond to the Earth, they correspond to outer space.
Oh, that's way above my pay grade now.
Yeah. But you can see if you sort of, trace along the little, measure markers on the side, that it would center on a star that is known as Aldebaran.
I've heard the name of it, but that's about all I know about it. Dr. Vansk, do you know anything about astronomy?
Unfortunately, the space I'm most interested in is inward, not outward. But I'm sure I could call somebody at the lab and see.
Delph-6's voice comes over the speakers, and he says, Alpha Tauri, in the constellation of Taurus, known as the Bull's Red Eye. It is an orange K5 giant star, 40 solar diameters, larger than Sol, 65 light years away, 14th brightest star in the sky, 7 billion years old. And then he says, full-starred Solano night arose, lifting the Pleiades' dim lyre above the solitude where it glows, rose-red Aldebaran's fire. Mute ere the darkness could forget the crystal hour of evening's trance, I felt the Hyadian winds that set the mirrored stars a dance. On restless leaves I heard them pass to touch the yellow vines that lay like paler pythons in the grass around the dim walls of Carcosa.
What is all of this? I feel like I had at least a somewhat of an understanding of the work being done here, and now all of a sudden we're talking about stars.
Poetry?
What is Carcosa? Is that another star, Dr. Vansk?
We'll ask Delph-6.
He just starts spouting what sounds like more poetry. It's a reference from one of the works that the doctor implanted into me. He says, and he gives you a number of files, and he says, these files failed to load. I would appreciate it if you would continue the download or the upload.
I look at the group, first of all. I took poetry at the university, and none of that was familiar off the top of my head. Does anyone recognize that?
Doesn't sound like Whitman.
Mm-mm.
No,
Not
and
at
I'm
all.
questioning the value in this particular portion of his work, honestly. I mean, it's a nice trick having a dolphin recite poetry, but
And the dolphin wants to be fed more poetry.
While I agree with the two of you, we do find that the beauty and the poetry of nature gets more complicated the deeper we go. So I do wonder if the good doctor wasn't mimicking that of nature. And perhaps the closer we get to the answer, the more complicated and convoluted the information gets.
Of course, it's not nature. We're just feeding it, and it's just regurgitating it.
thank you,
Possibly.
Dr. McCoy. I don't know what this conversation is absurd, truly. Is there any value to be gained from this astronomical data?
Delph-6, what information transference was set to happen?
I would appreciate if Dr. McCoy would go to Terminal 3 and continue the upload. The purpose being the transfer of information.
What are you trying to learn?
I'm trying to have the experiment become a success.
What
Part
is
of the parameters for the upload of the information.
What is the experiment?
what is the hypothesis?
What is the parameter of the experiment?
I don't understand why you are reluctant.
Well, humans like to know why they're doing what they do.
To continue the doctor's experiment.
What was his
Like a wall.
hypothesis?
His hypothesis was the ability to transfer information and energy from one spot to another. He is marginally successful, except that he died and the information transfer was not complete.
Why this information and not, I don't know, mathematical theorems or history?
I have all mathematical theorems currently available.
Delph-6, do you possess the information that resided inside the doctor's brain?
Possibly more.
More.
Not
Delph-6,
directly his brain, but everything that he had learned, he transferred.
that was my next question. Okay. Wow.
What is this information?
He suddenly starts speaking Russian. Who
I understand Russian.
He starts speaking Russian, and he says, "Yes, I can speak in other languages that you understand. I have been given this knowledge." He speaks in Spanish. He speaks then in whatever, German and French. He says the doctor wanted to imagine what it would be like to be able to have all of the knowledge available, not at your fingertips, but in your own mind.
Delph-6, may I ask a question? Did the doctor anticipate being stopped short of success?
All evidence would seem to be that he was not, that he did not know this. I require access to files, and he gives you the file numbers.
Dr. McCoy, I think that would be pertinent at this time.
I think our job here is done. We just report to the dean and then say the experiment was a success.
What are you talking about? You're looking at a modern marvel right in front of you. Can you not take this opportunity to imprint your foot into the cement of history and at least placate this animal?
This is work for whoever ends up leading this project.
This is abomination.
Determine this.
First of all, we don't know who's going to have control of this project, and they might shut it down.
And that
Do
is
not
not
shut
your
down the
call to make,
project.
Mr. Easley. That's not your call to make.
Certainly, it's not my call to make, but look at this thinking, feeling, breathing creature we see right before us. Delph-6 is no fluke.
It is imperative that the experiment continue.
I can't believe I'm agreeing, but I agree with this animal.
If we were going to continue this experiment, it should be done in a controlled environment by researchers who know what they're working toward and can observe it in the way it's meant to be observed.
You
I
are
agree
the,
about this.
you
I
are
agree
the
with the
leading
suit.
scientists. You are the top of your field. You are
Ms.
the ones
Hutchins, we
chosen.
are the control. We are the
There were a
control.
list of people that were working on this project before they know what is going on here. We do not. We should be contacting his former research assistants, and we should be waiting for the investors to determine who's going to take the lead here.
I'll concede that point, but don't your bosses insist that we find an answer?
I think we have enough information here.
Well, whatever happens, this seems to be a matter of national security. This can't fall into the hands of the Russians.
I'm hesitant to feed it more information right now because we have no idea what it's going to do to it. It might keel over and die.
Why don't we call up some of the research assistants? I can see Dr. Easley does have a good point. This is very fascinating where this is going. What if we contacted some of the research assistants and at least got a feel for what was going on here?
What if what
Because
we've
all
already
I'm
done?
getting is riddles from a porpoise. This is not helpful information.
But what if what we've already done is illegal?
Are you worried about legality in this moment, Mr.
I
Easley?
am. I'm a professional. And
What
in
is-
this
what-
instance, I assume we all should be.
What are you interpreting as illegal about what's going on here?
Well, what I assume is that there are certainly things that are going on that are beyond ethics when it comes to ecology. And I think, Ms. Hutchins, you and I have both seen that. And
Mr.
while
Baxter was quite argumentative about the ethics of this experiment. I assured him, however, that I had volunteered.
I look at Gwen.
I chose knowledge.
How
did-
can something programmed understand choice?
How can it
Humans-
consent?
Humans are of the illusion that they have choice. If there is any choice, I made it, and I desire that the experiment continue.
Who is this person that he just mentioned? Who is that? I'm sorry, I forgot the name. Who
Baxter.
is that person? Baxter. Who is Baxter?
Baxter was the doctor's research assistant, his last one. He
happened to
left
Baxter?
on what he believed were ethical basis.
Maybe we should reach out to this Baxter, Gwen.
I'd like to hear both sides of the argument. For sure.
I agree.
I would like you to restore my access to the files that I've given you.
I look at Gwen and I say, I will side with you on this one. Maybe we call the assistant first.
There are other non-functioning circuits that will allow me to speak more clearly and understand you as well more clearly. There is a faulty circuit, and he gives you a small list of circuits. Would you please repair those?
You know, I don't have the best. It's just a base. But I'm starting to get the idea, since Delph-6 is already speaking very clearly and understanding very well. And I'm going to roll with a 10% chance. Is he lying to me? Is this dolphin lying? I'll never know.
The next thing that he says is,
I love it.
I have not complained, but the circuit is very loud. Please repair the circuits that I've given you to correct the problem.
I look at the rest of the group.
Now, in my knowledge of circuitry, could a circuit that's not functioning possibly be loud to somebody? It's inert.
Maybe there's an alert going on that's alerting him. And that,
Mhm.
We'll
Dr.
confirm
Easley, I'm going to
that.
defer to you on this. Is that something that you think would be possible?
How can a circuit that's not functioning be loud?
The signal contains static that is causing me difficulty. Please repair the circuits.
It seems like a fairly benign request to me.
I think we should talk to the assistant. We'll put everything. We'll make it comfortable. We'll
Let's
turn
call them.
everything off. We'll turn everything off and just take a lunch break.
Don't turn things off. No. I'm connected to the system now. It was very uncomfortable when I was not connected to the circuit.
Yeah, I can understand. Imagine being cut off from knowledge. Perhaps we leave the power on, but we don't move forward, Dr. McCoy, and we make that call to the assistant.
Fine.
There's a phone in the room.
Not in the room. We don't want the dolphin to hear us.
Sure.
Yeah, can we look at the files they were referencing before we do anything with them?
Yeah, you can pull them up on the screen. All of the files seem to have been conglomerated from a number of historical documents, some of them very old. The company that produced them is called New World Industries, and they seem to be old Latin or Greek medieval texts of some sort. Do any of you speak Latin or Greek?
I would only have the cursory knowledge of a marine biologist and Latin species.
A few terminologies.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, that's not enough to actually read it. So you can't read them, but they are listed as, like 12th century, 15th century literature.
Are any of the literature matching up with the odd symbols that I couldn't make out in his research?
Yeah, do a spot hidden.
Good call.
That's a fail.
Okay. You see odd things in there. There's some what look like alchemical charts and things, but you don't see those particular symbols. You find, though, that these texts are fairly large, like 950 pages. And
I'll call Norman over and I'll just kind of suggest, like, do we really feel like this is something a newly intelligent creature needs to have access to? This seems beyond, well, we're already beyond normal.
Please repair the circuits that I need to remove the pain I am experiencing.
Dr. Vance, maybe we do think about this. If there was so much pain beforehand, why didn't the Delph-6 mention it before? It's only afterward that we start to see this. If I may, Tatiana, I think it's probably time to make that phone call.
I would agree. Ethics aside, we need to know more about what we're dealing with here.
And Norman looks at the tank instead of the screen, as if to speak to the animal more than the computer and say, I'm sorry, old girl, just give us a moment.
It says, part of the experiment has to do with time. If you're going to do something, do it quickly. It's important that I have the information.
Delph-6, are you implying that there was a sort of a countdown involved when the professor was killed and all of this was stopped?
Do a psychology roll.
I made a 79, so that's probably a failure.
We'll say that you've been watching the dolphin well, and when you ask the question, you can't really tell if it's, the way humans can glance around. The dolphin doesn't really do. But it seems to be indicating that white screen with the dots all over it.
Interesting.
How is any of this time sensitive?
Well, the Earth rotates a certain speed, matching the stars at a certain time period.
Why in the world would that be important?
No. All right, go ahead, Dr. Vonsk. I think I understand where you're going.
The information transference, I don't think, is from the computer to Delph Delph-6, it may be from Delph-6 to, silly to say, something extraterrestrial.
Something else, let's say.
Aldebaran, the star.
Who the hell's out there that could receive information from us?
Who's to say? Who's to say that people can create dolphins with blinking lights in their forehead? I think we're beyond reason, ladies and gentlemen.
Those of you who have thought this through, when you do look at that screen, you do realize the screen is slowly moving.
Is
That
there
little dots go off of one side of the screen, new dots appear and start moving across it very, very slowly.
Is there a frame or a window that it looks like a certain constellation of stars is going to move into?
Yeah, Aldebaran is moving towards the center of the screen.
In that
It looks like there is also something you didn't quite notice before because you thought it was just numbers rolling, but there does seem to be kind of a countdown.
In that case, we need to shut this down. This is more of a matter, more than just national security. This could be, or what would I even call this? Earthian security?
Stellar. And I agree.
All right, so we just shut the power off and be on our way.
The
All in day, have
dolphin
lunch?
immediately begins swimming around violently in the tank.
Don't do that.
Um,
I point at it.
Knock it off.
It says, the pain.
My heart
Just go
bleeds
make
for
the
the...
call. Someone go make the call, and I can, if we want, I'll stay behind, or someone else can stay behind with the dolphin. But someone go make the call, for goodness sake.
I
You
think
make the call. You're the suit here.
There's phones upstairs too.
All right,
I'll
can
go
make the
upstairs
call.
and get more food.
I'll
Gwen,
stay
if you
here
want to
with
make
Henry.
the call.
yeah, can you placate the dolphin while we make this call? Maybe
Yeah, give it some more food.
distract it?
I'll try and feed it.
I'll be right back.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute break.
Sure.
Sure.
Sounds great.
So, I think Gwen was going to go to the phones.
Yes.
Okay, what are the rest of you doing?
I'm guarding a dolphin.
Yeah, trying not to let this dolphin bully us.
I'm going to the phones as well.
And I
Okay.
am tending to the dolphin, trying to feed it or calm it.
Okay, it does not come up to the surface. It seems to be in distress. Gwen and Dr. and Tatiana, you're going to the phone. Once Dr. McCoy and Henry are alone with the dolphin, it says to you, the others don't completely understand the danger.
What danger?
Power surge, it says.
Power surge? How can you predict that? Oh,
The capacitors have been fully charged.
what do you
The
make
circuits,
of
the circuits need to be repaired in order for the computer to monitor the output.
Does any of that make sense to us?
Well, capacitors store a huge amount of electrical charge and usually, put it out all at once. The flash inside Gwen's camera, that's done with capacitors so that the energy all comes out in one flash of energy. You haven't seen capacitors, but the building's large enough to where they could be anywhere downstairs that you just didn't run across them. Or
Mhm.
this place does look like it would discharge a lot of energy.
Okay. These circuits that he's telling us to repair, what do they look like they're connected to?
Yeah, what is the purpose of them?
Well, they look like they are connecting power conduits it would be connecting one part of the building to another. The computer systems all run through this sort of thing. You're not sure, but I will let you guys do a psychology roll again.
Boy.
You guys don't
Okay.
have much psychology.
Yeah.
Nope.
The only thing, I mean, you can't make a determination one way or the other. Everything that it says sounds plausible, but it seems to keep coming up with a new reason for you to do what it wants you to do every 5 minutes.
That's kind of what I was getting at, was like, first it wanted us to fix the circuits so that more information could be fed. Then we got to fix the circuits because there's a power surge risk now.
Or it's
Which
in
one is it?
pain, or yeah. All right.
The doctor taught this thing the concept of lying, that bastard.
So you guys upstairs. Norman, it just doesn't seem to want to come up. It seems you can see it swimming down below, but it's not interested in eating. Gwen and Tatiana, you head for the phone. There's a phone on the wall. There's phones on desks. You look around, you don't see any microphones or anything in this room.
Okay.
This looks like classes, where classes are held.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what are you going to do?
Contact the last research assistant.
Okay. Well, first, what you have to do is you have to call the administration office, and she gives you that number, and you have to dial 9 first to get the outside line. You dial 9, and then you dial the number. So you call it, and after a couple of rings, there is a voice. Says, "Hello."
Yes. I'm sorry. What was his name again? Baxter?
Terry Baxter.
Yes. Is this Terry Baxter?
Yeah. Who's calling?
My name is Gwen Hutchins. I'm investigating the untimely death of. Now you got me thinking, Thom. I can't remember his name. Dr. Volokakis.
Dr. Volokakis is dead?
Yes, it's a very unfortunate electrical accident in his lab.
Wow.
Truly, I'm contacting you because we're trying to determine the nature of his work.
Wow. I mean, I guess I'm not really that surprised. What's the place look like now? I mean, I kept it kind of organized, but...
Oh. I think it's become a little disorganized in your absence.
Is he still working on dolphins?
Yes, I was told that was the reason why you left the project. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like dolphins. I found it very strange that he was working on them. That dolphin, it can talk, right?
Yes, we have spoken with Delph-6.
Who did you say you were again?
I'm a representative for the investors who are funding this project. We're trying to
Okay,
figure out
'cause
who can take this over.
I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, but what do you already know about it?
I'll let Dr. Vance take over from here. She is the expert.
Mr. Baxter, this is Dr. Vance from Fermilab. And I'm going to just kind of launch into like a really theoretical thing that I saw from the notes to see if he picks up on that at all.
Yeah, he says, okay, well, obviously you know what you're talking about. You've been in the lab, you've seen the dolphin. I just felt that it was, would we allow a doctor to work on a human being? To open up their skull and fiddle with their brain. And it just seems unethical.
Yes, Mr. Baxter, trust me, we're having that discussion on our own. We really want to know what was the end goal here?
Well, I mean, the end goal, I suppose, was the idea that you could input from computers into human brains all the information necessary. The idea was is that if humans had access to all of the information necessary, then they would make more, obviously intelligence wouldn't really have anything to do with it. You would have all that information. I told the doctor that I didn't think that's the way that it worked, that you might have access to all the information, but whether you can put thoughts together clearly. Anyways, we had big fights about it. And then, you know, the ethics of actually using, he claimed that the dolphins volunteered, whatever the hell that means.
Where did he get these dolphins from?
Well, I mean, that is kind of the weird thing. The first 4 dolphins he had procured them the way you would through a lab supply area. And the weirdest thing is when we were working on number 4, Delph-4, these 2 dolphins kept coming up to the gate in the tank outside in the ocean and kept chittering. We thought it was just, you know, communicating with Delph-4. Delph-4 failed, but he just took the opportunity. He opened up the gate one day and the 2 bottlenose dolphins came in and he used them. I thought it was really unethical, but we used to have a lot of fights. He finally just told me to get the fuck out of his lab. Excuse my language.
I understand. Now, when we were
Can't believe
speaking
he's
with
dead, though. I mean, some of the stuff he was doing was kind of crazy. So I guess I'm not that surprised that he electrocuted himself.
Crazier than talking with dolphins?
Well, the man was cutting edge. The man knew what he was talking about. And his problems usually were that we didn't understand. And
didn't understand like Carcosa.
The first person that, I mean, he used to talk about her all the time. What the hell was her name? No, it was a dude, Clark Van Cura. He used to treat him like a slave, just like a piece of shit. And then Maria, that was the one before me. She actually fucked something up with Delph-3, and he threw her out. I lasted the longest, but I wasn't sad to go.
Does Aldebaran mean anything to you as far as the work that he was doing goes?
It's a star, right?
Right, but it seems like some of his work was astronomical in nature.
I don't know.
Did you ever see any of that?
He was inputting a lot of information, or attempting to put a lot of information into the dolphin, but there was somebody who contacted him. I'd say maybe in November. That somebody named New World Industries. They gave him access to a lot of old material that had been digitized. But that's about the last thing that I remember.
Did you happen to look through this material?
No, I mean, it was like asking me if I read through an encyclopedia. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a lot, and it's in pretty esoteric writing. Right.
I think there was some. Yeah, you're right. There was some stuff in Latin and Greek, and I think Arabic. Yeah, but he wanted him to know the classics, so to speak, or for all I know, Beowulf was in there.
And since receiving that information, did the doctor's methods change, or did his goals change at all?
Following the doctor around while he was working was like following the Tasmanian devil
Mm.
around.
I understand.
Things were just flying everywhere, and I was picking them up and organizing them and putting them. Yeah, I bet for the last 6 months. Did you get anybody new?
Unfortunately, it's been 6 months of untending. It's very unkempt in there.
Well, I'm really sorry to hear that he died. I mean, he was a fucker, but he was brilliant. Anyway, I didn't expect your phone call. I gotta go.
Okay.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Sure. Click.
Do you think we should bother with the other two at all? Maybe see
He's
what
the most recent.
Yeah.
We should have asked him the dates that he worked for the doctor. I don't know how long this has been.
Oh,
Did we know
He left about 6 months ago, is what I
Okay,
remember.
okay.
December he left.
Yeah, and it's June now.
Well, truthfully, I don't see a reason not to continue this. It doesn't seem
Go ahead.
dire.
Yeah, there's something that bothers me about it, though. There's an element of the unknown that, at Fermilab, we're very careful with our discoveries, and we only push things incrementally because we don't want to push too far beyond the veil, so to speak, and end up somewhere we're not supposed to be. And that's what I think this man was trying to do in some extent, is push too far too quick.
As you're all, wherever you are at this moment, what sounds like an alarm goes off. Kind of a, it's not like a fire alarm, but it's kind of a
What's going on down there? What is that?
We should run back down.
There is a red light on the wall that is blinking as this goes. The dolphin becomes a little frantic, and he says, "You need to prepare the circuit now."
Why?
Because the power surge will wreck the building, wreck all the circuitry.
I thought these circuits were to transfer information.
It requires a great deal of energy to transfer the information.
Okay, so you're saying there's a power surge that's going to happen if we fail to give you the knowledge?
No, the power surge will happen if the circuits are not repaired.
Okay, I'll just turn the power off then.
That won't work.
Of course it'll work.
Capacitors stay charged.
They'll discharge over time when there's no power to the circuit.
There's a switch that's held open by the power that will trip when the power goes off, and the capacitors will discharge at that moment. And if the electricity and the computers aren't on, it might destroy all of it.
I don't.
We're arguing with the dolphin. Dr. McCoy, it is within the investor's best interest to not have this project lose millions of dollars in funding due to some electrical error. Please fix this.
I'll look around at everyone after Gwen finishes her statement.
I'll look at Norman.
See what she says.
I think there's going to be some kind of consequence here.
Dr. McCoy, are you refusing to take action?
Good luck fixing it on your own. I'm going to walk off.
Mr.
Gwen,
Hubbard,
do
is there
a
anything you can do?
We're being bossed around by a dolphin.
This is millions of dollars in funding, Mr. Hubbard. I have no interest in losing all of that money. And I don't think you are interested in losing your good name in any field that you continue to work in.
Right, but the thing is, though, is scientific experiments are founded upon making essentially educated guesses to where you have an idea of what the outcome might be. We have no idea what our input is going to lead to. That's not good science.
I didn't get to where I didn't get my doctorate by just going all willy-nilly with science.
Thom, you were going to prompt me for something.
I was going to prompt you for something.
I'm sorry. I think I kind of interrupted. It's fine.
No. Well, no, that's fine. You were talking. I don't know if that's a pass, Norman.
It's not, no.
Okay. Gwen, do a spot hidden.
All right.
Doctor.
06.
Oh, cool.
Ooh.
Dr. McCoy, you were walking away.
Yes.
Where are you
I'm using my
walking?
stop work authority. I'm going up the stairs. I'm taking my lunch break.
All right. So you get to the stairs and you start going up. Gwen, as you are standing there, there's a moment of a bit of a screeching noise over the loudspeakers, and Delph-6 is practically screaming. It sounds like at Dr. McCoy. It's like, don't leave, repair the circuits. It's almost too late. And Gwen, you notice that Aldebaran has moved towards the center of the screen, and it looks like it's going to come into the crosshairs in about 30 seconds.
I'm going to pull a gun on Dr. I'm going to pull my gun on Dr. McCoy. Fix
What
it
the?
now.
Well, he's probably already out the door.
Fair enough.
Mr.
Mr.
What are the
Hubbard,
rest of you guys doing?
Fix it.
Listen, I know you're not going to shoot me, because if you shoot me, I can't fix it. And if I don't fix it, then there's no point. There's no.
Henry, do a spot hidden as you're looking around the room.
Nope. I have terrible spot hidden.
Well, then Dr. Vansk and Norman do spot hidden. It's really so lousy tonight.
That's a success.
I have a success as well.
Okay. Gwen is facing one direction towards the door. Well, she's facing towards Henry. Henry's facing towards her. You guys are facing there watching the scene. You guys start to notice that Delph-6 has moved away from the glass, and he's beginning to circle inside. And you're not sure, but there seems to be light coming from down below in the tank. The water is kind of glowing a little bit.
I look over at Henry and Dr. Maxwell and I say, the trap door. We never went all the way down to the bottom.
I did. There was just some wires going to that transmitting that array.
Do you see this
But I'm
light?
going to run down to the bottom and see if I can see the bottom of the tank from down there.
You're going to try to go all the way down?
Yeah.
That'll take you a couple minutes to get your way down. So you're going to run towards that. 15 seconds.
We need to leave.
If the water starts to get a little brighter, kind of a yellowy greenish glow, do any of you go over and look into the tank?
I'm going to start grabbing his notes, and I'm running since I cannot fix the panel myself. So I'm grabbing all of his notes and going.
Okay. By now, you've probably gathered them together into a binder, so they're probably all right there. You grab his notes, and where do you head? Towards the door? Towards the stairs?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
Doctor-
I'm running out as well.
Okay.
We don't have enough time to fix this, and I don't like glowy things happening all of a sudden.
Dr. Easley, what are you doing?
I am yelling at Dr. McCoy. Please get back down here. It's the natural order of things. This man trusted in nature. Please come back down here. There's something going on.
And since at this moment, Norman, you are you're the only one that's still sort of in the lab proper. Gwen's gone up the stairs. McCoy's gone up the stairs. Hubbard's gone down. Dr. Vance is running towards the stairs. You start to feel something. You feel it in your ears at first, like a vibration. You can feel it in your chest moving. And it suddenly occurs to you that those rods sticking up out of the black box in the tank at the bottom are acting like tuning forks. They are vibrating. You can feel the vibrations coming from the tank. And the clock runs down 5, 4, 3, 2. At 2 seconds, the water in the tank starts to get brighter. The dolphin is spinning very quickly around in circles. 1 second, and it becomes, you start to flinch from the light. And then in that last second, there is a flash of blinding light coming from the tank. Do a constitution roll to see if you go blind.
67, which is a failure.
Okay, so you have spots before your eyes. Henry, you'd gotten down 1 level, but you were still in view of the tank. Do a luck roll to see if you were looking at the tank. What happens?
Okay. I don't pass the luck roll.
So you were looking at the tank as you were climbing down, and you also have to do a constitution roll from the brightness.
That's a fail.
So you are also dazed by the bright light. Dr. McCoy will say that you got to the top of the stairs and you were going to exit the building when you noticed that the pool was getting brighter and brighter. And there's a sudden flash. It's not so bright from up above, but it almost knocks you off your feet, the flash. Gwen, you're in the stairwell. So you notice light come from above and below, but you don't like somebody's taking a photograph. And then in that moment, there is a huge, almost earthquake-like feeling, and this noise, as if some gigantic goat thing was bleeding, that it hurts your ears, the sound of it. What is in the tank now is a gigantic tentacled monstrosity, and the glass is cracking all around it. What's your next move? We'll say Dr. McCoy.
I'm running.
You're running outside. Gwen, you are just coming out of the stairwell, and when you do, you see this ropey octopus thing in the center, writhing and bleeding like a giant goat.
Is that a sand roll?
Yeah, sand roll for both of you. Yeah.
That is a pass, shockingly.
I passed.
I'd say with a pass, you can do a 1d6.
Got it.
3.
3.
Okay. You guys are keeping it together.
Yes.
Norman, you are standing there dazed-eyed, but there is something horrific and nightmarish in the tank where the dolphin was. You can do a sand roll as well.
All right. We are looking at a 63, which is a failure.
Okay. Failure, do a 1d12.
1d12. All right. And that is an 8. Oh,
8. Do an intelligence roll.
okay. And that's an 9. So a good save on the intelligence roll.
No, you don't want to pass your intelligence.
Oh no, then yeah, I definitely gotta.
All right. So do a 1d8.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to understand what it is you're seeing. So
That's a 5 on a D8.
5. Actually, that's interesting because it landed on psychosomatic blindness. Everything goes black. But you're screaming in terror and you can't see. You don't know where the stairwell is. You don't know where anything is. Henry.
Do I realize that the tank is about to break?
You can hear it cracking. Yeah. Do a sand roll though for me.
Okay. That is a fail.
Okay. Do 1d12.
1.
Very good. Yeah, you don't need to do it. So you realize it's cracking. You're seeing this writhing monstrosity inside the tank. It kind of makes you freak out a little bit, but you don't think you want to go down any farther at this point.
I don't think so. And that the thing is cracking, I'm going to position myself in such a way that if it does crack and water floods everywhere into here, that maybe I can swim out. So I'm going to brace myself and get ready to hold my breath.
Well, you do know that if the tank breaks and fills this room, you'll be underwater.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm going to try to get as far up as I can before it breaks and then hold my breath and try to swim.
All right.
Away.
So you run back to the ladder and you're bracing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Tatiana, you can also do let's see, where were you? You were in the stairwell as well. So you hear Gwen screaming as she runs out of the stairwell and sees something. You hear this horrible noise of bleeding and cracking sounds. The whole building you can feel is violently shaking. But you're not sure it isn't just like a capacitor exploding. And what do you do?
We're getting out of there. We've seen a war-torn country. We don't need to see whatever's happening here. We're getting out of there.
All right. So as you run to the top of the stairwell, do a luck roll to see if you look right at the thing.
Oh no!
Out of the stairwell.
That is a pass.
Oh, all right. So you know that in the case of bombs or whatever, you're used to the war-torn. You come out of the stairwell, head straight to the door, and run out into the field, into the school, not looking back at this point. All right. So let's epilogue this whole thing. Dr. Maxwell, Dr. McCoy, you're completely freaked out. You look back, you see the top of the building's been blown off and this huge writhing thing, but your fight or flight kicks in and you run until you reach South America.
Yeah.
Dr. Norman, do a luck roll.
That is a 68. Probably also a failure. Yep, it is.
All right. You stumble around blindly. You hear suddenly a smashing, cracking sound, and you find yourself slammed against the wall by waves of water. And very quickly, you are underwater, and you have no way of knowing where to go or anything. And unfortunately, you run out of water. You run out of air before you escape. Henry.
Yes.
Why don't you go also do a luck roll?
I don't think that passes. Let me just double check. Nope.
Okay. As you are holding on to the ladder, you hear a huge booming crack sound coming from up above you somewhere, and suddenly water comes pouring down the ladder through which you're climbing up, and quickly you're swept away. You're tangled in the mecha. All the lights go out, and you realize there's no way you're going to get out. So your final thoughts are, well, shit, and you drowned. Gwen, you run out. You're running along. You look back and you see this thing, and you just stand there for a few moments screaming as whatever it is rises up out of the building and flops over sideways towards the ocean, and then sort of rolls off the building into the ocean, and you lose consciousness as your mind just is overwhelmed by what it's seen. You fall there on the grass in the middle of the campus with screaming faculty and screaming students all around you. And that's the end of our story.
Woo!
Mm.
So when I was in 7th grade, I wrote more or less a little bit of this story. The idea was something that I'd read in Lovecraft, that the dolphins were in league with Cthulhu, so that they weren't the friendly creatures that we thought they were. Their handicap is that they had no means whereby to say the correct rites at the right times when the stars were right. They lacked all of that ability. When Dr. Volikakos started doing his experiments, they were legitimate. They were what he was trying to do. When he got to Delph-4, it had sent a signal out to the other animals, to the other dolphins in the sea, and they realized that this was an opportunity that they would actually be able to possibly accomplish, pulling everything off at the right time in the right place. And so 2 of the dolphins actually volunteered. They literally came and volunteered themselves. They couldn't communicate that, but that's what they were trying to do. And the doctor was foolish enough to hook them in and suddenly give them a light speed mind that could, do all of the calculations and figure everything out. If you had fixed the circuits, it would have taken over the computer room, and it could have effectively electrocuted you if you tried to stop it.
Okay.
But what it really wanted was that all of the rest of the knowledge, which would have been the Necronomicon, all of those sort of esoteric books, but it effectively did what it wanted to do, and it didn't work quite the way it expected. It expected to somehow unlock or bring Cthulhu back, but what it ended up doing was transferring a star spawn from Aldebaran to the Earth. It kept talking about transference. It wasn't talking about communication or information. It was talking about actual transference,
physical transference
of an object from one place to another.
Not just teleporting information, but teleporting matter.
Right.
Oh,
Which, if Dr. Vance looked back on it, she'd go, "Oh yeah, that's what this is all about." In the papers.
ooh,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super creepy.
And Gwen had a secret too.
She had a
Gwen
gun
actually
the whole
works for
time?
Well, I worked for the military. I'm not representing any investors. Which is why I had a gun. Yeah. I was working for the military, and my job was to see this whole thing through and then gather up any data I could.
Military had paid for it all.
I love that. It's why she pushed so hard to a point, and then she's like, "This ship is going down. I'm out of here."
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. Well played.
Yeah, and she ultimately got away with it. Because she grabbed all that stuff. She passed out, but
right.
she'll
right,
wake up.
Right. I love that finger tapping. That's so good. Great game, Tom. That was great.
Thank
This
you.
was great.
All right, well, let me go ahead and finish it, and then we can chit-chat. Our players included Cody McInnes, Grady Williams, Dan DePoulos, Holly Buto, and Alex Sun, with yours truly as the keeper of the secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members. You can set up private games. You can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastery. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you would like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Thom Raley, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.